Here's what nobody's telling you. When the grid fails, it's not the expensive gear that saves you, it's the dirt cheap stuff you can buy right now at Walmart or Dollar Tree. I'm talking about items that cost pocket change but skyrocket in value the second the power dies. The Department of Energy estimates that the average American home can't last more than 72 hours without electricity before food, water, and sanitation start breaking down. Think about that. 3 days from comfort to chaos. And with blackouts up over 150% in the last decade due to grid instability, solar flares, and cyber threats, this isn't a maybe scenario. It's a when. So today I'm giving you 25 cheap items to stockpile, hoard, and barter with during a blackout. No luxury gear, no overpriced gadgets, just the real overlooked essentials that keep you alive, warm, fed, and sane when the lights go out. These are the under $10 items that become worth their weight in gold when the shelves go empty and the ATMs go dark. Stick around, because I guarantee you're missing at least 5 of them right now. 25. Coffee, the silent currency of civilization. You want to talk about morale? Coffee is liquid gold when the grid goes dark. During the Texas power crisis of 2021, grocery data showed a 68% surge in coffee sales within 72 hours of the first blackout warning. That wasn't coincidence. That was addiction economics in real time. Instant coffee packets cost 12 cents each, store forever if kept dry, and weigh next to nothing. You can also vacuum seal ground coffee or whole beans with oxygen absorbers for 10+ years of shelf life. Beyond caffeine, coffee's tannins make it a natural deodorizer and insect repellent, and the grounds absorb fridge and latrine odors. In a barter situation, 1 scoop of coffee can trade for an entire meal. Stock instant, ground, and even green beans if you've got a hand roaster. You can even brew coffee cowboy style over embers or use it as a natural dye for fabrics. When people are shivering and exhausted at 4 a.m., a cup of hot coffee becomes civilization in a mug. And that makes it power. 24. Flashlights. Not just light, but control. Here's a stat that shocks most people. During a nationwide grid failure, the average urban household loses 98% of its lighting capacity within 2 hours. Total darkness isn't just inconvenient, it's psychologically devastating. You need reliable flashlights like your sanity depends on them, because it does. Go for LED models rated over 500 lumens. They sip power, can run 100+ hours on AA lithiums, and last 50,000 hours per diode. You can get decent ones for $6 to $10 at hardware stores. Here's the kicker. Most people don't store enough spare flashlights. You'll want 1 per room, 1 per vehicle, and backups in metal tins to protect from EMP. Yes, electromagnetic pulses are real threats. Ask FEMA. And don't forget, headlamps. You can't fix a leaking pipe or dress a wound while holding a flashlight in your teeth. Flashlights aren't just illumination, they're psychological stability, deterrence against intruders, and the difference between control and chaos. 3. Manual can opener. The most forgotten survival tool. Sounds ridiculous, right? But every prepper eventually learns this the hard way. A study from the American Red Cross found that over 60% of households with stocked canned food didn't have a manual can opener accessible during outages. Electric openers are dead weight without power. The humble $2 manual opener suddenly becomes a gatekeeper between you and a month's worth of calories. Get multiple. The cheap ones bend. Go for stainless steel, swing-away models with carbon blades that won't rust. And don't underestimate its barter power. When your neighbor has 50 cans of beans but no way to open them, you're suddenly the most popular guy on the block. Bonus use, they can strip small wire insulation, open sealed paint cans, or pry open stubborn lids. Keep 1 in every kit, 1 in your vehicle, and 1 in your kitchen. A can opener isn't glamorous, but it's a perfect symbol of real-world prepping. Cheap, practical, life-saving. 2. Water containers. The real lifeline. Water isn't optional, it's math. The average adult needs at least a gallon a day for drinking and sanitation, and that triples in hot climates. Most households have less than 3 days of stored water, and that's assuming every toilet tank and water heater is fair game. Cheap, stackable water containers, those 5-gallon BPA-free jugs, cost about $8 each. You can fill and rotate them twice a year with a drop of bleach per quart for purity. For short-term blackouts, even washed 2-liter soda bottles work. Avoid milk jugs. The residue grows bacteria. When water treatment plants fail, water becomes the first black market currency. FEMA literally recommends 1 gallon per person per day, but veterans double that. You'll need it for drinking, washing, cooking, flushing, and bartering. A single 5-gallon jug of clean water can trade for $20 worth of supplies when desperation hits. Stockpile smart, because thirst kills faster than hunger ever will. 21. Solar lights, free power from the sky. Solar garden lights are a blackout hack almost nobody talks about. You can get a 6-pack for under $15, and they charge during the day to glow 8 to 12 hours at night. That's basically free lighting forever. Here's the trick. Pull the stakes off and bring them inside after dark. They'll light hallways, bathrooms, even serve as reading lamps. No batteries to replace, no fuel to store. In Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, preppers who used solar garden lights reported lower stress levels and better sleep because they could still maintain routine. That's not a luxury. That's survival psychology. You can recharge small electronics by rigging the panels in parallel with USB adapters, hundreds of DIY tutorials online. And because they run on nickel metal hydride cells, you can harvest those batteries for other devices if needed. In a long-term power failure, solar lights become the closest thing to renewable hope. Cheap, reliable, and limitless, the kind of item that turns darkness into strategy. 20. Batteries, the unseen backbone of every blackout plan. Let's not romanticize it. Batteries are civilization in a can. The Department of Energy estimates that 90% of emergency communications devices depend on battery power alone. Without it, radios die, flashlights fade, and medical devices stop cold. Here's what most people get wrong. They buy whatever's on sale and dump them in a drawer. Bad move. You need a rotation plan and mix chemistries. Alkaline for short-term, lithium for long-term, and NiMH rechargeables with a solar charger for sustainability. Rechargeables can be cycled 1,000 times, turning one $15 investment into a decade of energy. Store batteries in a cool, dry place and never mix old and new cells. That's how leaks and failures happen. Mark expiration dates with a Sharpie and run a quarterly check. AA and REL-A will cover 80% of devices, but don't forget the oddballs. CR123s, 9 volts, and 18650s for high-end lights. In a blackout, batteries aren't a luxury. They're time, safety, and communication. When the grid dies, these little cylinders become the heartbeat of modern survival. 19. Bleach, the lifesaver that expires faster than you think. Most people don't realize bleach is basically bottled sanitation. A single gallon of unscented bleach, which costs around $4, can disinfect up to 5,000 gallons of water if used correctly. That's not a typo. 8 drops per gallon, wait 30 minutes, and you've got safe drinking water. But here's what almost nobody talks about. Bleach has a shelf life. After 6 months, it starts losing potency. After a year, it can lose 20–40% of its disinfecting power. That means you can't just stash it and forget it, you've got to rotate it like milk. Keep it in a cool, dark place away from metal and sunlight, and only buy plain sodium hypochlorite bleach, not the splashless or scented garbage that'll poison your water. You can even use it to sanitize surfaces, soak produce, disinfect medical tools, or scrub mold. If you've got calcium hypochlorite, pool shock, that's even better. It's dry, cheap, and has a 10-year shelf life when sealed. Mix 1 heaping teaspoon per 2 gallons of water to create a bleach stock. That one trick alone can turn you into the neighborhood's clean water supplier during a long blackout. And that's serious barter power. 18. Our soap, the old school antibiotic. Before antibiotics existed, soap saved more lives than any medical innovation in human history. That's not an exaggeration. CDC estimates hand washing alone reduces disease transmission by up to 50%. Bar soap is cheap, compact, and practically immortal when stored dry. You can grab a 10-pack for under $10 and it'll last a family months. Liquid soap, on the other hand, degrades, leaks, and wastes plastic. Bar soap doesn't. In a blackout, sanitation collapses fast. Waste piles up, flies multiply, and small cuts become infected nightmares. A simple bar of unscented soap can be used for personal hygiene, dishwashing, clothes washing, and even tool cleaning. You can shave it into flakes and dissolve it for laundry detergent or rub it on zippers and screws as a lubricant. For preppers who care about shelf life, go for brands without added oils. They won't go rancid. Stack them in airtight containers with silica packets and they'll last forever. Here's a barter truth nobody talks about. When people haven't showered in a week, a single bar of soap becomes worth more than a pack of cigarettes. 17. Capstick and lip balm, the micro-survival tool. People laugh when I tell them to hoard chapstick, but the stuff's practically tactical gear in disguise. For $1.50 a tube, you've got waterproofing, first aid, and fire-starting material that fits in your pocket. Most lip balms are made from beeswax, petroleum, and lanolin, all flammable. Rub it on cotton balls or paper and you've got a 5-minute fire starter. But the real genius is medical. Cracked lips are open wounds, and open wounds mean infection. Use balm to seal minor cuts, prevent blisters, or soothe dry skin and nose irritation from dust or smoke. In freezing temperatures, it prevents frostbite on cheeks and knuckles. Some survivalists even use flavored versions as bait for small animals. That's right, cherry balm attracts rodents and raccoons. Shelf life? Around 5 years. Easy, if kept cool. You can store dozens without taking up more space than a loaf of bread. And here's the kicker. In disaster barter markets, luxury comfort items like lip balm skyrocket in value. People will trade food for normalcy. And nothing feels more normal than not bleeding from your lips. 16. Pair products. Because water becomes sacred. Here's the brutal truth. When the grid fails, water is no longer for washing, it's for surviving. That's where paper plates, towels, and napkins come in. During the California blackouts of 2019, FEMA reported a 70% spike in paper product demand within 48 hours. Why? Because cleaning dishes without running water burns through your reserves fast. Paper goods eliminate that problem. A $3 pack of paper plates might save you 5 gallons of precious water per day, and they're multi-use. Paper towels double as kindling, emergency toilet paper, or wound dressings. Even cardboard cores can serve as fire starters or insulation stuffing. Get unbleached or compostable varieties so you can safely burn or bury them. Stack them in airtight tubs to keep them dry. Moisture ruins paper faster than you think. And when you run out of propane or your water filter freezes, being able to eat, wipe, and burn without contamination isn't convenience. It's survival efficiency. You're not just saving water, you're preserving your most critical lifeline. 15. Safety pins, the unsung hero of improvised engineering. Tiny, cheap, and immortal, safety pins are what separate chaos from order when you're living off-grid. You can buy 100 of them for $2 and they'll last a lifetime. They fix torn clothes, secure makeshift bandages, create fish hooks, hold tarps together, or even pick simple locks in a pinch. During World War II, soldiers used safety pins to keep gear from rattling, patch uniforms, and even reset broken zippers on tents. They don't rust easily if you buy stainless steel ones, and they weigh practically nothing. The larger sizes can function as impromptu cotter pins in small engines, while mini ones are perfect for organizing wires or hanging gear to dry. Add a few to every bug-out bag, first aid kit, and sewing kit. Redundancy matters. Here's a pro tip. Sterilize them with fire or alcohol and you've got instant medical-grade fasteners for wound dressings or splints. In barter terms, they're what I call micro-utilities, small items that solve big problems. When everything's falling apart, you'll be amazed at how one tiny piece of bent metal can keep life stitched together. 14. Paracord, civilization in a string. Ask any soldier, mountaineer, or serious prepper what they'd take to a desert island, and 550 paracord makes the list every time. Why? Because it's not just rope, it's potential energy. Real paracord has 7 inner strands, each one strong enough to hold 35 pounds individually. That means 100 feet of paracord gives you 700 feet of usable line once you strip it down. You can grab a 100-foot roll for about $10, and it lasts practically forever if stored dry. In a blackout, paracord becomes your go-to for everything: rigging tarps into makeshift roofs, hanging wet clothes to dry, creating animal snares, or securing loose panels in a storm. Inside those strands: fishing line, sewing thread, even bowstrings if you know how to make them. It's resistant to mildew, UV, and rot, something most cheap cords can't claim. Want to talk barter? Offer a 10-foot length to someone trying to fix a tent or hang a light, and you're trading in gold. It's lightweight, silent, and endlessly useful. Paracord is proof that survival doesn't come from big gadgets, but from small, smart tools that never fail. 13. Duct tape, the universal fixer. There's a saying among old-timers: if it moves and shouldn't, duct tape it. If it doesn't move and should, WD-40 it. Duct tape is the king of multi-purpose repair, and in a blackout, it's basically modern alchemy. A $7 roll can seal water leaks, reinforce windows, patch clothing, or even build splints for broken bones. NASA once used duct tape to save the Apollo 13 mission. If it's good enough for space, it's good enough for your blackout kit. Real duct tape, think Gorilla or 3M, has a cloth core and a waterproof adhesive that can handle 200 degrees heat and still hold. Wrap it around flashlight handles for extra grip, use it to seal light leaks during tactical situations, or tape up a plastic sheet to block drafts in freezing weather. In emergencies, it can even replace shoelaces, patch inflatable mattresses, or make butterfly bandages. I keep 10 rolls minimum because once the grid's down, there's no reordering from Amazon. Here's what most people don't realize: duct tape is barter gold. Everyone thinks they've got some until it's gone. When things break, and they will, you'll be the one everyone comes to. 12. Ziplo bags, the unsung logistics system. You know what separates chaos from control in a long blackout? Organization. And nothing organizes like Ziploc bags. For $4, you can get a 40-pack of gallon-sized freezer bags that will outwork half your fancy storage gear. These things are waterproof, airtight, reusable, and endlessly versatile. You can store food, waterproof important papers, protect electronics, make DIY cold compresses with snow, or even portion out rice and beans for barter. Freezer-grade bags are thicker and can handle more abuse. I've used them to haul water, transport seeds, and keep ammo bone dry in humid weather. In fact, during Hurricane Katrina, FEMA's post-event analysis found that families with sealed food and clothing in Ziploc bags experienced half the contamination issues compared to those who didn't. That's a big deal when mold and bacteria start spreading. Label your bags with a permanent marker and date them. It turns your supplies into a real system. Here's the kicker: you can heat seal Ziplocs by running a hot butter knife over the edge. Boom. Instant long-term packaging, no machine needed. 11. Lights. Fire in a pocket. If you've ever tried to start a fire in the rain with a flint, you know pain. That's why disposable lighters are the single most cost-effective fire starter on Earth. A Bic lighter costs $1.50 and can ignite 1,000 plus times. Buy a 50-pack for under $40 and you've got years of instant fire. I keep them scattered everywhere. Glove compartments, first aid kits, toolboxes, even taped under furniture for emergencies. Unlike matches, they're waterproof, wind-resistant, and refillable if you're clever. And here's something most people overlook: the metal cap on a lighter can heat up enough to sterilize a needle or cauterize a wound in an absolute worst-case scenario. But the real power is in barter. After the Puerto Rico blackout, lighters were trading for $5 apiece. Think about that. A 500% markup overnight. Fire is heat, light, and cooked food. Without it, you're in the dark ages. So, don't just store a couple, store dozens. Different colors, too. because when your neighbor's shivering in the dark and you flick a flame, that little click becomes pure hope. 10. Matches. The ancient backup that never quits. There's something primal about striking a match. It's civilization condensed into a spark. Even with all the tech in the world, matches still matter, and they're dirt cheap. A 300-count box costs about $3, and if kept dry, they'll last decades. Get Strike Anywhere matches if you can find them. Harder now due to regulations, but waterproof storm matches are the gold standard. They'll light in 60 mph winds, burn for 10 seconds, and even relight after dunking in water. That's not marketing fluff. It's lab-tested survival. Store them in waterproof cases or old pill bottles lined with cotton. Pro tip: coat regular matches with melted candle wax for homemade waterproofing. During long blackouts or camping situations, matches are barter goods people overlook until they don't have any. You can trade a single box for food, batteries, or labor because people panic fast when they can't make fire. Keep them in bulk, store them dry, and label them by type. Fire is security, morale, and energy. And when the world goes dark, one box of matches is worth more than any piece of tech in your house. 9. Toilet paper, the great equalizer of every crisis. It sounds ridiculous until you live without it. Every single modern disaster, from the 2020 lockdowns to hurricane evacuations, proved one thing: people will lose their minds over toilet paper. It's cheap, it's bulky, and it's always the first thing to disappear. The average American uses about 141 rolls per year, according to Statista, which means if you've got a family of 4, you're blowing through over 500 rolls annually. Stock up smart. A 12-pack costs around $10–12 and stores for decades if kept dry. But the secret most people miss? TP isn't just for hygiene. It's fire starter, kindling, insulation, and even barter gold. You can compress individual rolls into vacuum-sealed bags to save space or stuff them in contractor bags to waterproof your stockpile. And if you run out, having it to trade makes you king of the cul-de-sac. During Venezuela's 2013 crisis, toilet paper was literally used as currency. It traded higher than bread. You might laugh now, but when the water's off and the stores are dark, having 6 months of TP isn't luxury. It's dignity insurance. 8. Candles, the forgotten source of heat and hope. You want to know why humans have been burning candles for 5,000 years? Because firelight keeps us sane. In total darkness, your brain actually starts to panic. It's called blackout anxiety, and it spikes cortisol levels and disrupts sleep. Candles solve that for pennies. You can grab 100 tea lights for under $10, and each burns 3–4 hours. That's 400 hours of light for the cost of a lunch. Long-burning pillar candles are even better, 100+ hours on a single wick. Mix paraffin with beeswax for drip-free flames that store indefinitely. The real trick? Heat. 4 tea lights under a terracotta pot can raise a small room's temperature by 5–10 degrees Celsius. I've done it myself during a winter outage. That's survival physics, not myth. Plus, candle wax doubles as fire starter, waterproof sealant, and even lubricant for tools or zippers. Keep them wrapped in foil to prevent dust and store in metal tins to avoid melting. And if you want to barter? Trust me, when someone's been living in pitch black for a week, a single candle feels like sunlight. 7. Trash bags, the ultimate multi-tool. You think trash bags are for garbage? Try survival. These things are the Swiss Army knife of prepping. Heavy-duty contractor bags, the 3 mil thick ones, are waterproof, windproof, and nearly indestructible. A 32-count box costs about $15, and each bag has more survival uses than half the gadgets in your bug-out kit. Need shelter? Cut it open. Instant tarp. Need to stay dry? Crawl inside. Emergency poncho. Ground cover, mattress liner, rain catch, solar still, latrine liner, body bag, all one product. You can even fill them with leaves for insulation. That's how homeless shelters in Eastern Europe survived winters during blackouts. The key is variety. Get thin kitchen bags for normal waste, contractor bags for the apocalypse, and small ones for medical or biohazard use. In barter terms, a contractor bag can be worth a full meal once sanitation systems fail, and they will fail. Stock at least 100. Because when the lights are out and the toilets stop flushing, those black plastic sheets become the foundation of civilization. 2.0. 6. Plastic raw. Your invisible armor. Here's one you don't think about until you've used it in the field. Plastic wrap, the same cling film you seal leftovers with, becomes an absolute lifesaver during a blackout. It's airtight, watertight, and resistant to bacteria. A $3 roll can preserve food, seal wounds, waterproof electronics, or even cover broken windows to block drafts. You can use it as a vapor barrier inside your shoes to prevent frostbite, or wrap it around cuts to keep dirt out. In hospitals, medics have used plastic wrap to cover burn victims when sterile bandages ran out. It locks in moisture and prevents infection. You can also use it to solar pasteurize water or trap condensation for emergency drinking supply. When wrapped around insulation materials, it boosts heat retention by 30%. You can even use it as an emergency greenhouse covering for seedlings or herbs you're growing indoors during long-term blackouts. Store multiple rolls. They take up almost no space and never expire. Plastic wrap isn't fancy, but it turns you into a low-tech engineer when modern tools stop working. 5. Aluminum foil, the reflective lifesaver. Now we're getting into serious territory. Aluminum foil isn't just kitchenware, it's survival science. A heavy-duty roll costs $5 and can literally save your life in multiple ways. First, it reflects 95% of radiant heat, making it perfect for cooking, fire starting, or keeping warm. Wrap food in it and toss it straight into coals. No dishes, no cleanup. Use it as a makeshift pan, funnel, or waterproof container. It even blocks EMP waves and radio frequencies. That's why preppers line ammo cans and phone pouches with it to create mini Faraday cages. Bonus, foil keeps batteries from corroding when you wrap the ends, and you can sharpen scissors or knives by folding and cutting through it. A sheet under your sleeping bag reflects body heat back up, bumping your warmth by several degrees. Here's the kicker. In 2023, the average price of foil spiked 20% due to aluminum shortages. That means even this humble roll is becoming a legitimate barter item. Stock heavy-duty foil, store it in tubes or buckets to keep it from crushing, and you've got a tool that bridges the gap between camping and survival tech. You got it. Let's close this out strong. These last 4 are the crown jewels of blackout survival, the ones that keep you clean, fed, and sane when the world outside is losing its mind. Every single one is dirt cheap, wildly useful, and something you'll want to stockpile deep before the next power outage hits. 4. Sugar. The seat survival catalyst. Everyone thinks of sugar as a comfort item. Wrong. Sugar is an energy-dense, medically useful, indefinitely storable survival asset. A 4lb bag costs about $3, and it lasts forever if kept dry. Here's the hidden value. Sugar is an antiseptic. Medical journals have confirmed that granulated sugar packed into open wounds stops bacterial growth by pulling moisture out. It's the same principle hospitals used before antibiotics. It also helps preserve fruit, fuel fermentation, and stabilize canned goods. In a grid-down situation where morale is collapsing, 1 spoon of real sugar in a cup of instant coffee feels like hope. But here's what most people miss. Sugar is barter gold. During WW2, sugar was rationed tighter than gasoline, and people traded jewelry for a few pounds of it. You can also use it to make ethanol fuel, extend the shelf life of baked goods, and even mix it with borax to create a roach-killing compound. Don't settle for 1 bag. Store 30 pounds or more. Keep it in sealed buckets with oxygen absorbers. When the blackout hits and the world tastes bitter, a spoonful of sugar really does keep despair away. 3. Baking soda. Heat chemical Swiss Army knife. There's nothing glamorous about a yellow box of Arm & Hammer, but make no mistake, this stuff is chemistry's version of duct tape. Baking soda costs $1 a box, and it's basically the prepper's secret weapon. You can use it to brush your teeth, neutralize stomach acid, clean cookware, deodorize food storage, purify water, and even put out small grease or electrical fires. Try that with regular cleaners. Mix it with vinegar and you've got a non-toxic disinfectant that'll scrub mold off walls and kill bacteria on surfaces. In a blackout, that's life-saving sanitation, but here's where it gets crazy. NASA used sodium bicarbonate to scrub carbon dioxide out of the air during Apollo missions. You can literally make breathable air safer with it. You can also use it to tan hides, preserve fresh meat, and balance soil pH if you're growing food indoors under emergency lights. And it never expires. Store it airtight, keep it dry, and it'll last decades. For Barter, it's unbeatable. People underestimate it until they're choking on smoke and you're the one who can make a fire extinguisher out of kitchen powder. 2. Vinegar, nature's disinfectant. If bleach is the nuclear bomb of disinfection, vinegar is the sniper rifle, precise, versatile, and nearly eternal. A gallon of distilled white vinegar costs about $3, and it's a cleaning, cooking, and medical powerhouse. You can pickle vegetables to preserve them for years without refrigeration, disinfect wounds, descale kettles, clean batteries, and even repel insects. During the 1800s cholera outbreaks, doctors used vinegar compresses to sanitize surgical instruments, and modern studies still show it kills E. coli and salmonella. You can make vinegar lamps for dim, odorless light, or mix it with baking soda to clean cookware when soap runs out. It also acts as a natural deodorizer and can replace half your chemical cleaning supplies. Shelf life? Infinite, if sealed. Vinegar doesn't spoil, it self-preserves. In barter terms, this is stealth gold because most people don't think to stock it. When everyone's trying to disinfect with expensive wipes and running out, you'll be the one with gallons of safe, renewable cleaning power. If prepping had a scent, it'd be vinegar. Sharp, reliable, and pure survival. 1. Salt, the eternal currency. We end where civilization began, with salt, the single most valuable cheap item you can own in a long-term blackout. Before refrigeration, salt wasn't just seasoning, it was the food preservation technology. It prevents bacterial growth, cures meats, dries fish, and preserves vegetables. You can literally live off salted food for years. The average adult needs about 3 to 5 grams of sodium per day to maintain nerve and muscle function, and without it you risk dehydration, cramps, and even heart arrhythmia. Salt never expires. Ever. You can store it in buckets for 50 years, and it'll be just as potent as the day you bought it. A 26-oz container costs under $1. Historically, Roman soldiers were paid in salt. That's where the word salary comes from. It was currency. In a collapse, it will be again. Beyond food, salt disinfects wounds, cleans cookware, melts ice, removes rust, extinguishes grease fires, and preserves hides. You can even make saline solution for eye care or medical use. Stock at least 20 pounds per person. When the lights go out and refrigeration dies, salt is the line between feast and famine, health and sickness, life and death.